Hello and welcome everyone, I am Madals and today I have got a ladder game. It is between the red Zerg player in the lower right position. We do have XMG's XlorD. His opponent in the top left is the blue Zerg, so this is going to be a ZvZ. We're going to see some lots of Ling Bling action. It is going to be Busker. Now, these two are probably going to put on a good show for us. I believe that is a fair thing to say. It should be fairly exciting, so I'm definitely looking forward to what they're going to have in store. This is on Wings of Liberty. I've got a whole ton of Heart of the Swarm action coming up though on my channel. I've got quite a few replays that I need to get out and get cast, so do stay tuned. Make sure you hit that nice little subscribe button to find out, and make sure you keep up to date on when it's all going to be coming. Now, anyone who frequently visits my channel may have noticed that I have a beautiful new splash screen. I'm going to flick back to it. Look at that. That is beautiful. I also have these nice new little overlay panels and things just make everything look so swish. So a big shout out to the amazing graphic designer who created these for me. I have put his Twitter handle up on screen now, so make sure you check him out because he is pretty damn cool. And he's also doing some casting, so make sure that you go and check that out as well on his YouTube channel. Now, in terms of what these two are going for at the moment, XlorD has gone for a relatively quick spawning pool. It was chucked down at about 14-15, I believe. Meanwhile though, for Busker, he's getting up that hatchery first. He's like, economy all the way. You're not going to kill me. The map's a Hana as well for anyone who was unfamiliar with it or maybe doesn't play StarCraft or is just tuning into this through complete chance. I will make sure that this stays exciting for you if you are just getting the grips of what is going on. So now we've got XlorD. He's taking down his own expansion. It's looking really quite similar at this stage. Pull into hatch is slightly less economical than hatch pull, but it does mean that you've got the queen out slightly sooner, which results in getting a couple more lava slightly sooner. You can also get out Zerglings should you need to defend, and generally speaking, the difference isn't huge enough to make it a huge deal. So I'm not really concerned with what I'm seeing at the moment. Both of these players are, so far at least, gearing up for this to be a longer game, but the one thing that you'll all know is that ZvZ has a tendency to get pretty crazy pretty fast. 1 minute you can be like, there's nothing on this field other than drones. And then suddenly there's 24 speedlings running into your base and you're like, oh my goodness, what's happening? How did this happen to me? And that is all due to taking a look at how many lava your opponent's got. It's something that you always need to keep a good scout on, because if they've got no lava, then they're not going to be able to make any units for at least the meantime. Also worthwhile, the big thing at this stage of the game that's worth checking when you know that your opponent does have down that slightly sooner gas, which we've seen that obviously XlorD has scouted out, is that just make sure there are drones coming down at the natural, because otherwise it could just be an expansion there for the sake of getting an awful lot of speedlings flooded out very quickly. And this is likely why we see XlorD running up here, just going to take a quick check, have a quick look. Yes, that base is being used for mining. I'm safe for the time being. See the Zerglings coming around the back here. Just getting that scout out. One even manages to get into the main. That's really important because what he sees now is that Speed is researching. He should also be able to spot that all 3 drones are still in gas. Of course, if these are being pulled off, that would have been another indicator that perhaps my opponent is going to speedling rush me. Both players, though, are getting up their baneling nest, so that's fine. Both keeping the 3 drones in the 1 gas for the time being. XlorD getting out an awful lot of Zerglings right now, though, and 14 is considerably more than his opponent, who is only getting out the 4 on the field right now. And it doesn't matter too much, because as long as Busker gets a nice defense, make sure that he's paying attention with this Overlord sitting here, then of course he will be able to say, look, I know what's coming out, I should be able to defend this, I need to get a Baneling. That is the most important thing in this situation now, is I need some Banelings, and there we go, 4 already morphing. We've got the Queen coming in here as well, we've got the Spine Crawler at the front, and obviously we see the Speedlings are coming across the map, but this should be fine. The Banelings are nearly done, but of course now we see XlorD is getting his own Banelings up, and there's more for XlorD than there are Busker. 2 Banelings killed Banelings, so you need to send them in pairs. We've got 1 detonation going off, 1 Baneling for 2 Zerglings. Not the greatest hit you could hope for, but still, This is the problem, that these banelings are coming in threes. The spine crawler doing its best to try and pick them off. The queen getting a good couple of shots off as well. And this is a good defensive moment. The spine crawler likely to die, unfortunately. 3 banelings for 2 there, not the greatest trade. But Busker does now have the superior Zergling numbers and is going to be able to push back XlorD. Behind all of this, we do have more queens coming out. We do just have the baneling nest there. The XlorD though, he's getting up his lair, his additional gas, and also the evolution chamber. Going up to 3 gas now. So 3 gas without a Roach Warren is always an interesting timing. The Roach Warren should be coming down soon, assuming there's going to be the transition. But look at this. This has now been spotted completely by XlorD. He sees how many speedlings are coming. The banelings are trying to morph in, and even though there's just pure speedlings, a couple of banelings will be able to fend this off as long as there's a good connection. Busker will have to be careful. Trying to pick off one of the banelings though and does succeed. Still though, 3 Zerglings did go down there. Busker is getting down a 3rd base very early indeed, and I believe that XlorD can see that. If we take a look, no, he can't, so that is a good little 3rd base there. That could pay off very nicely for the Blue Zerg in this situation. XlorD does have to be careful. As we can see, some banelings are getting a few connections, but Busker just sitting there with an awful lot of banes of his own, awful lot of Zerglings of his own rather, just threatening. These banelings are slowly pushing back. You need to be very careful in this situation not to have a big connection, because one large connect with those Zerglings will mean that XlorD will get quite far ahead. In terms of this engagement coming down now, it looks like it's going to go in Busker's favour. Pretty mutually destructive. The 3rd base will not be able to complete for XlorD. And as such, we see now that Busker, he's got his 3rd up. He's ready to go. And in terms of how that affects the drones, for the moment, XlorD's slightly ahead, but not for long once you get onto 3 bases worth of production. Now the big question is what is going to be coming down here. We've got the macro hatch, we've got the Roach one, we've got the Roach speed upgrade on its way, as well as the 4th gas. Compare that to Busker, who is getting up his infestation bed, as well as the +1 carapace and Roach speed. So slightly different upgrade paths, but the tech advantage is going to be there for Busker, as will this 3rd base, which is really going to help. Injecting off of 3 hatcheries is going to give you a lot more than off of 2. XlorD does now scout this with the Overseer, which will be able to get away. That's not a problem for the moment. And as such, if you do manage to get out and you get that scout off, XlorD now knows that he needs to be the aggressor. He's so far behind in this 3rd base timing that even with the macro hatch he is about to have up, he will be falling back. So this is why we're seeing him potentially just going to go for some aggression. He might try and catch up purely by droning, but we've seen a lot of units coming out, but Busker as well getting out an awful lot of units and has taken quite a substantial supply lead for the moment. In terms of the worker count, he's ahead as well. Not by as many, but still a good 8 ahead, which is more than enough at this stage of the game. Both players trying to take out these destructible rocks to allow the quick resupply to their 3rd base. We now have the infestation pick coming down for XlorD, but as we can see, the first infestors already on their way for Busker, and that means that he is going to be feeling very swish right now. Could even go for a nice little push, because with the infestor advantage, he's going to be feeling fine. And even taking a 4th base, my goodness, this 4th is early. And as such, if it doesn't go scouted by XlorD, Busker is just going to take such a huge economic advantage that he is going to be very happy with it indeed. A little bit of Roach on Roach action right now. In terms of upgrades, it's 1-0 against 0-1, so pretty much cancel each other out. We do have a nice little fungal growth there, trapping a couple of roaches, making Busker feel like he can take it, but XlorD loses a few units, but not too much. He is slightly behind in the losses, as well as the worker count still. So that just means that, all in all, he is definitely behind at this stage, because his tech is even behind. So when you factor it in that way, you've got to be thinking that if I'm behind in tech, economy, and army supply, then I'm going to be running into some problems going into the late game. So hopefully XlorD will be able to catch this up. Fungal growth being used to pick off this Overseer. It won't supply block XlorD, but it is still going to put him very close to a supply block, which is going to be very frustrating for him, especially as he hasn't started any more Overlords yet. In terms of the infestor count, we're sitting there with 3 for Busker, the first infestors on their way out for XlorD now, but not many at all, even though he does have quite a substantial amount of gas income for the moment, and also a lot of gas in the bank. So this just means that we're in a situation where Busker definitely ahead. XlorD is going to have to go for an absolute miracle defend. Busker even going into his late game composition, getting out that Hydra Den. And once you start seeing the Hydra Den, then you know that a Zerg player is feeling really confident. Infestor, Hydra, Roach is so strong. It's all comes down to positioning and upgrade advantage. But as we're seeing, Busker is going to be falling slightly behind in terms of the upgrade. We do have +2 missile attack nearly done for XlorD, but the push already on its way in. XlorD pulling back to try and defend the roaches coming into the main, but does not see straight away these coming down to the third, and now it's a multi-prong attack. And while the fungal growth was good and while XlorD will be able to defend to the third, look at this, roaches have made it into the main base. They are going to be doing some really good damage here. Quite a few drones going to come down, reinforcements coming in. XlorD is trying to defend as best he can, but there's just too much stuff here for Busker. He loses the fight at the third. He has lost so many drones up in the main, 18 already being killed, and while the force in the main base is going to get cleaned out, the third base mineral and income lines are going to be absolutely slaughtered. While we do have the Infestor coming in, does not have enough energy here for XlorD, and it does get sniped off very nicely there by Busker. And while this push has now ended, well, 18 workers killed, Busker is still ahead in terms of supply, and in terms of the worker count, it's 87 to 51. That is fairly huge in terms of the advantage for the Blue Zerg player right now, who is also on 4 mining bases compared to the 3 of XlorD. Now, in terms of upgrade, that's the only thing I haven't touched on. It's 2-0 against 1-1. The Infestor count looking a lot higher for Busker, infinitely higher at 5-0. But what does this mean? It means XlorD is going to have a perfect positioning. He couldn't ask for more. Snipes off 2 of those 3, 4, 5 of the Infestors. Very nicely done before no more than 1 fungal growth went down for the Blue Zerg in this situation, but the Roach numbers just so superior at the moment for Busker with the burrow tech as well. He is doing some good burrow micro, trying to keep his forces going, streaming reinforcements across the map, and as we can see, XlorD's army just melting to this. It was a great engagement by XlorD, but there is the GG well played, and he loses the game. So congrats to Busker, who just took some massive risks taking those 3rd and 4th bases so early, but boy did they pay off well. If you enjoyed the cast, make sure you like the video, make sure you leave a cool comment, and make sure you subscribe. Of course, I'll see you all tomorrow for yet another new game. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.